What we're here to talk about is the impact inflation's having all around our country. As you can see in this chart, 87% of Americans are now concerned about inflation. And when you look at these numbers, 52% increase in gas prices, 11% increase in milk, 16% increase in bacon, eggs up 6%, used cars up 45%, utilities up 6%. It impacts, as we all know, it impacts the poorest families. It impacts those on fixed income the most because if you're not making a lot of money, your wages never go up as fast as inflation does. We've been hearing stories all across the state of Florida. I'll talk about one family from a small town in Florida, mother of four. She said she used to be able to go to the grocery store about once a month, and she knew exactly what things were going to cost. She'd spend about $200 a month on meat to feed her four children, and now she can't do it. So she has to make a choice. She has to get to work. She has to drive her car, so she's worried about gas prices. And she's worried about food prices. So she's got to start making choices. And what we're seeing is Americans are having to make those tough choices because of Democrat spending. Democrat spending causes high inflation. It always has. Reckless government spending always causes high inflation. I grew up in a poor family. I watched my mom struggle to put food on the table. She would take in ironing, and whatever money she would make, either my older brother and I would go to the grocery store, but we had to be very careful what things cost because we had a limited amount of money and things were constantly changing. So she said, look, this is all we had. We had to figure out exactly what things were going to cost. We had to know exactly what the taxes were going to be so we could make sure that we lived within our means. And that's what Americans are trying to do all the time. But reckless spending, government spending, always has caused inflation. We're up to, what, almost $30 trillion worth of debt. We already this year spent $1.9 trillion, the Democrats did, in spending. They have another plan to spend at least $5.5 trillion more. This is going to cause more and more inflation, but it's like the Democrats want to say, we don't care about that. This is our time to get our liberal wish list done, and we're going to do it as quickly as we can, and we're not worried. The Democrats are not worried about the inflation on American families. All of us have different ideas of how we've got to get this under control. I've got a bill called the Federal Debt Emergency Control Act, which would require a two-thirds vote by the Senate on any bill that is going to increase deficit spending. So I dealt with this as governor. I was governor for 8 years. We paid off a third of our state debt. We cut taxes. We grew our economy, and that's how we were able to spend the money we did for the things we cared about. Also have a proposed rule, Senate rule, that would require a inflation impact statement by all committee reports. So we know if some bill comes out, then we're going to let people know exactly what's going to impact, how it's going to impact inflation. So we've got to get this spending under control. It's a way we're going to get inflation under control. And if we don't, it's going to have a dramatic impact on families all across our country.